Hi, this is Siddharth Alwalia, Venture Capital Business Development Manager at AWS. Welcome to AWS Nexus Catalyst Series, where we feature founders and the spaces which they operate in and their insights. Today, I have with me Pratik Podar, Principal at Nexus Venture Partners, and Edul Patel, founder of Mudrex. So, welcome Pratik and Edul, and over to you, Pratik.
Thank you, Siddharth. Thank you, your story team, for inviting us. This is exciting for me because till a few years back, I think as one of the top VCs in the country, for different reasons, we were not very active on the crypto developments that are happening in the country. But over the past 1 year, thanks to Edul and team, we have gotten a chance to learn from the ecosystem and build some level of expertise. And I'm very excited to talk to Edul and learn about his journey better. Just for some context, Edul and I know each other for more than 15 years now, and we have been good friends since forever. I when Edul told me about Mudrex for the first time 4 years back, I did not really understand what is happening in the market. In fact, we have a email chain between close friends of ours from 2012, where we talked about Bitcoin and said we should buy it, we should not buy it, what is happening, and we unfortunately for us, we decided against it then, and we have been only tracking that email chain since then. So
every couple of years, Pratik drops a message. What next? What are we missing now?
So it has been exciting journey. Just a quick background of Nexus. Nexus is a India US fund. We manage about $2 billion of assets across 6 funds. We are early investors in Postman, Delivery, Dhruva, Pubmatic, Kaltura, Unacademy, Intramarket, and many such exciting companies. Mudrex, of course, is our first investment in the crypto space, and we are fortunate to be a part of the journey, and we have been actively scouting for more companies in the space. From my end, we are now able to visualize how the new paradigm of Web3 is changing the ecosystem around us. This is not a step. There is not a small change that is happening around us. In my mind, now I can visualize that how the internet was changing the ecosystem in 2000s. We are perhaps at that point of time in crypto. We are a bit late, unfortunately. However, I'm sure there's a lot of time, and over the next 15-20 years we'll see the world evolve. So we are not too late for sure. So that is my assessment of the space. But I would let Edul lead the conversation. Edul, would love for the audience to know about your journey, how you started, what Mudrex does, and let's take it forward from there.
Absolutely. So thanks a lot, Pratik, and thanks a lot, AWS and the team, for having me on board and share how Mudrex has grown over the last 3-4 years, and how the crypto space is also evolved and grown over the last 3-4 years in India and globally. So just quickly, short background about me. Graduated from IT Bombay. Post that, went to Deutsche Bank, worked over there for a couple of years in the trading and risk teams. And that's around the time when Pratik and I were also flatmates. He was at BlackRock and Morgan, and then I was at Deutsche. And that's when that original Bitcoin thread was also started. All of us were jumping up and down in our seats because Bitcoin had gone from like 30-40 rupees to like 120 rupees over a period of 2-3 days. And we were saying that, why is this happening? What's the madness behind it? And why are people following it? And actually, I think the first time when I read the Bitcoin white paper, it was still very, very early days. This was the time when Bitcoin was being used to buy pizzas over the dark net, right? This is literally that era, and very few people actually understood what it was about. And of course, neither did we, right? As time progressed and as we matured over time, post Deutsche, I started my own company called as Niffler. Did like a small run for that. Got acquired by this company called as Tabzo. Tabzo was eventually getting acquired by Amazon. And at just around the same time, me and Prince, who's my co-founder at Mudrex, both of us started to look at a few other opportunities that were around to see what next do we do in our lives, right? And we were focused a lot on how the world was changing, how wealth tech was evolving, how fintech was evolving, and one core focus or essentially the goal and the vision that we had inside internally was that if we could help people get to financial independence faster and help them manage their wealth better in a way that they can scale up and be happy with their lives, then that would be a great goal to achieve. And that's the number one struggle that a vast majority of people have in their lives. Like, how do they manage their finances well? And while doing that, somehow we stumbled upon crypto once again. This was March, April 2017. Again, when did the same exercise, started this time buying and trading crypto, so that said कि यार कि चलो कुछ तो पता चलेगा. Let's actually get into this and see what's the root of it. Just around that time, Ethereum started to become really popular. Ended up reading the white paper of Ethereum, went neck deep into how the tech works, try to understand why and what blockchain brings to the table, and then as a result of that, why and what kind of applications are to be found on top. And were fundamentally blown away with what it could possibly do. Were immediately sold on the fact that crypto is going to be essentially the layer where effectively all finance and transaction happens over the internet over the course of the next 20-30 years. And said that if that is going to be the scenario, then this is too big a wave for us to miss out on. So left everything that we were thinking of and just doubled down and said that, okay, let's just do crypto. Even if we are able to capture a small fraction of this very large asset class, it will end up being very, very large and very, very meaningful. So that's how we jumped out and started building out Mudrex. And effectively at Mudrex, our goal has always been that we want to simplify crypto and simplify the experience of people to adopt into crypto and get more and more people on board. I genuinely think that crypto is actually like where the internet was in the 1990s, and this has been thrown around quite a lot. And there are actually a lot of similarities over there. The reason why it is like in the 1990s is because I think of three main reasons. The first reason is that the tech is still evolving. We are nowhere close to understanding what are the use cases. And as a result of that, what is possible is still in the heads of most people, right? Like we barely scratched the surface. The second problem is that a lot of things are actually very inefficient today. So it is in reality, with the way tech is set up right now, still better to do a lot of things in a centralized way than in a decentralized way, simply because things aren't there yet, but they are getting there. And that's very hopeful. And the third thing is that I think we are also in the same space in terms of user experience, where the user experience of most users is so bad that they would rather not get on it than try this out, right? And all of these are exciting challenges to solve from my perspective, right? As someone who's been in tech and product over the last 10 odd years, these are exactly the kind of problems that we are craving to solve for. And yeah, that's what makes crypto and blockchain so exciting, that there is just an infinite level of things that can be possible. Things are still being built out and inefficiencies are there to be solved for clearly. And then the user experience is very poor. You solve for the user and then you can get more and more folks on board. So yeah, so that's kind of sort of where we are, Pratik, today. And yeah, we'd love to go into details.
Awesome, fantastic. And for the audience benefit, maybe good to explain a bit about Mudrex, on what we do, share some numbers around the scale, etc., so that people can appreciate the novelty in the solution. And
absolutely,
just to add to what you said, I distinctly remember when we used to study the stack in internet, and we used to talk about, hey, well, IP, TCP, HTTP, there are different protocols that were created. I think what's exciting in crypto, like it would have happened then as well, that it's not that those protocols were the best protocols for the market. It's just that those protocols survived because those protocols fought with other protocols and got most community traction. The same thing is happening in crypto here, where protocols are really being, the community is adopting different protocols, and that tapestry is what is leading to the outcome in the crypto world as well. And would love to, in that spirit, would love to understand how Mudrex is in that stack for the user, and what is the place where we are adding value in the user stack.
Mudrex as a product today is helping people invest in crypto better. And before we go into that, let's just talk about how investing works in general, because investing as such is a problem that people have been trying to solve since ages across asset classes, right? And typically the way people have historically done investing is that first look at what kind of products are required for investing. So people are typically looking for either products that help them give zero risk, slight return, some amount of risk that's linked to the market and returns along with that, or looking for, irrespective of how market works, consistent returns, right? And what's also happened is that a lot of this risk historically has been managed, or a lot of these returns have been managed by, let's say, fund managers and essentially systematic investment products. And the reason why that has happened is because everyone universally here agrees that timing the market is almost impossible. And the more you try and time the market, you end up losing money as such, right? So people who end up doing buying and selling and active trading have historically always lost more money than they've made. And so eventually what most retail folks do is that they hand over essentially that money to a fund manager or a program that helps them continue to make consistent returns, or at least some sense of market linked returns, right? We feel that as crypto evolves and as we go more and more and more into building and adding financial value and financial products on top of crypto, and more users come in, they will require simple and easy to invest crypto products. There is a term thrown around in crypto called as DYOR, do your own research. See, DYOR is good if you actually have the time to do your research, right? But the reality of life is that a lot of us are too busy and too occupied to not be able to do our own research. And that's why we trust a lot of these other financial products out there to help us manage our investments in them. Effectively, Mudrex tries to solve this problem for crypto. We think that today crypto is still the wild west, where what you do is people end up buying and selling tokens, or are investing very small amounts for insane outlier returns, where they are either looking at long-term value or looking at just degen lottery kind of outcomes, right? And we think that as crypto evolves and as the masses enter crypto, this behavior will change to a lot of people wanting to make consistent long-term wealth inside this new emerging asset class. And to solve for that, Mudrex creates products like effectively mutual funds or index funds that help people invest in these products and then grow their wealth consistently. So our flagship product is a product called as CoinSets, which effectively is modeled along the lines of, let's say, an index fund for crypto. So one of our largest CoinSet is a CoinSet called as Crypto Blue Chip, which is effectively like Nifty 50, where just like how Nifty 50 is a top 50 kinds of stocks on the NSE exchange, Crypto Blue Chip is a top 5 tokens in the crypto universe. Similarly, there is a new crypto stars, which is modeled around the lines of Nifty Next 50. There is a NFT 10, which is modeled along the lines of Bank Nifty, and so on and so forth. So these simple, easy to invest products help people take positions and of course grow their wealth in themes that they believe in and grow that on. So yeah, that's like a quick short story about Mudrex. And effectively the way or the place where we lie, and I think the job that we are trying to solve is the same job that we tried started out with solving 4 years ago, which is making crypto easy to understand and removing barriers and simplifying the process of investment and getting people on board so that then they can start reading about and understanding about this new asset class that we are creating.
We have talked about it earlier, and you explained to us that that Web 1.0 was around static consumption, where content was being served by a server and user was just consuming it. There was limited interactivity. Web 2.0 maybe started around 2005 and perhaps still up till now, where companies were being created because of the interactivity, and the users were adding value. Users were adding information like likes, comments, reactions, blog posts, and providing value to the system, because of which they were able to capture that. They were able to get some value out of it. But the value capture was happening by large companies like Google, Facebook, Uber, and so on, and limited ownership was given to the real users. While in the Web 3.0 world, it is truly liberating in some sense, because there's decentralization and there's ownership to the user who is giving his time, his data, his energy for the benefit of the community, and and that is the true ethos of Web 3.0, which is around decentralization and ownership, and that is what is changing the world around us. And as Nexus, we have been very excited about the possibilities, and it's one of those things where once you see it, you cannot unsee it, and the beauty is just so obviously visible. Until the time you see it, you're not able to get a feel of it. So from your vantage point, would love to understand how you think of the crypto ecosystem. How do you think of the ecosystem in India? And would love for the audience to learn from you.
Absolutely. So rightly said, Prateek. I think Web 3.0 is all about creating products and then of course owning them. And when you say owning them, actually owning a lot of the value capture. And I think the reason why Web 3.0 evolved in the first place was because a lot of people felt in the world that they were being cheated out of a lot of the value that they had created, and the value capture happened in the wrong approach or in the wrong method, right? And that, as a result of that, that is a consequence of how systems were built over the last 10 odd years, and then how we are trying to change these systems for the next 30-40 years, right? Now, a couple of things are actually very interesting over there. And the way I see it is I also see it as like a meta problem, right? As humans, we've always tried to evolve processes and systems that help us function seamlessly and efficiently as a bunch together, right? And money itself was created for us to be able to do those value interchange and value transactions in a way that it could help us function seamlessly and efficiently. Now, I also think that Web3 growth is also a consequence of all the globalization that's happening. You know, as Web 1.0 helped us consume content from across the world, from everyone, across different spheres, right? Web 2.0 helped us create content from across the world for different spheres and so on and so forth. And in the same way, Web 3.0 helps us own and distribute value across the world and so on and so forth. And our current essentially payments, settlements, and so on and so forth infrastructure is fundamentally not that great to support that growth, right? So I think the reason why a lot of the things in Web 3.0 were created were also an outcome of this. If let's say our current infrastructure was in a way that was suitable for payments and transaction and value capture and value distribution across the world, this would have ideally never happened. But the reality in life is that it is not true, right? And a lot of the early use cases and a lot of things that were developed in crypto were around this part. Okay, if value capture is to be moved from central entities to decentralized individuals who are creating products, how can that value capture be efficiently done so that the value transfer happens also efficiently? So I think that's how Web 3.0 started. And then what started to happen is that a lot of novel use cases started to appear on top, because this value capture became programmable, right? And as soon as value capture became programmable, then use cases are infinite. Because, let's just take an example of this. And we will take an example of this in the context of Mudrex, right? So earlier, what used to happen was that in Mudrex, we would do payouts to our creators once a month. The reason why we would do payouts to our creators once a month was because that process was manual. We were literally sitting and calculating and figuring out who needs to get how much payout and just send that payout at the end of the month, right? A few, or let's say 4 or 5 months ago, we automated this process where payouts would happen automatically. Now, the reason, as soon as we automated this process, it opened up 10 different more products that we could do, where we could change the fee percentage, we could change distribution, we could change how creators captured that value instantly. We were able to change how people who referred these creators were able to capture value from this as well, and so on and so forth, right? So automation helps solve for a lot of these tasks that you will not be able to do. And effectively, with all the new smart contract platforms that are coming up, all of these novel use cases, which historically could not be done, are being opened up, right? Now, that's how kind of sort of Web 3.0 is evolving globally. And in the context of India, also, this is actually fairly unique. And in India, there are effectively today two spectrums. There is essentially the OG group that's been around for the last 3-4 odd years. And then there are a whole bunch of new use cases that are coming up in the very last 6 months to last 1 year kind of sort of a time frame, right? And the way we are seeing a lot of the new folks come up is that effectively what they're trying to say is that they're trying to solve actual human normal problems that were existing previously as well, and seeing how those use cases can be built and solved via crypto in a more, in a slightly better way, in a slightly more efficient way, in a way where value capture happens by the individual more and less by the company. So that's actually what's happening inside the space.
Awesome. And you know, when you're saying it, I'll say it slightly differently, but I'll share the same thing from my vantage point. In my mind, when you first look at Bitcoin, you think, hey, Bitcoin is really an internet native way of doing payments. Nothing is as internet native for payments as Bitcoin, right? If you think about when you see the packets being transferred for when you're doing a normal transaction, you will see HDFC, India, US, Swift, etc. written over there. In Bitcoin, it's truly packets like you would see when you are looking when you are looking at a TCP packet or HTTP packet, right? It's just so obviously visible there. So at one point of time, at least from my vantage point, it felt that Bitcoin is crypto. But then when you look at Ethereum, Ethereum effectively is a is a computer that people can program on. Now, when you think of it from that perspective, you realize, hey, Bitcoin is also a computer, but it's non-programmable. So Bitcoin is, from that perspective, Bitcoin is like a calculator. It has some value, it has some application, but it is non-programmable. And when you have a computer which is programmable, the value that can be created on top of it is just amazing. Now, then as a normal user, I thought, hey, this is it, Bitcoin, Ethereum, that is it. But then you realize that, hey, there's a problem with Ethereum, that it is not as scalable / secure or cheap for most use cases. And then people started creating solutions on top of it, and many forks were created, many L2 chains were created, and so on. And all kudos to the phenomenal team being built, phenomenal team building a phenomenal product in our backyard, and none of us knowing about it, Matic, which is such an innovative, simple, novel solution to the problem that was so obviously there in the Ethereum chain. So now when you look at that structure, that people are innovating, the smartest people in the country, the smartest people in the world are trying to solve the problem and taking one step towards the right solution. So it sounds messy and it looks messy today, that hey, there are so many products, so many chains, one chain transfer to that chain, so complicated, so costly. It is messy. And it is messy because smartest people in the world are working on top of it and creating interesting solutions. In my mind, we would have solutions created at all layers. Some of it can come out of India. Now, as Nexus, we have been good early investors in lots of open source companies like Postman, H2.ai, Minio, Hasura, and a lot of them have done phenomenally well. We are actually seeing some sort of an open source movement that we saw, and similar dynamics in the crypto community. Across all these layers, people are innovating, building communities, and doing evangelization to get developers to use their product and create large communities on top of it. And this is happening across the stack at all levels, right? So at L1 level, people are working, at L2 layer, people are working at multi-chain communication layer, and phenomenal innovation is happening there. People are building developer tools to develop on specific chains, and that is super exciting for us because we have seen those journeys across different developer tools out there, and a lot of this innovation is happening based out of India, because we were anyways very good at creating such tools, and many large companies had already been created. So in my mind, beyond the coin fluctuations that people see, fundamental hard work and heads and heads down execution is happening, and a lot of these tough problems are being solved by exciting companies both outside India and in India, and that is what is changing in the ecosystem around us, and this is a phenomenal time to be in the ecosystem for that.
Correct. That's actually a very interesting point, Pratik, over there, and I was just about to talk about it. What you said about open source, right? In open source, historically, what happened is that someone created the entire tech, and then to monetize it, they had to build something absolutely different. And then whatever someone used to create that tech, if someone else wanted to build on top, to monetize that, they would have to build something absolutely different, right? So the problem was that I think that value capture wasn't happening efficiently. That didn't align incentives. And as a result of that, the rate at which things grew in open tech, open source were significantly slower. And that's actually the main difference with what's there in crypto, right? Like you build one thing, someone can take that and build something on top. The protocol at the bottom is able to capture value very natively. And then the one who's building on top is able to capture value over there. And then the one on top is able to capture value over there, right? It is because of this alignment of financial incentives on top of this inherently shareable open source kind of sort of philosophy is why we are seeing such rapid iteration and rapid improvement. Like if you actually go back and look at all the tech that's been built out in just the last 3 years since Mudrex has been around, it's absolutely phenomenal. We went from Ethereum being faulty and hacks happening over there to it becoming super stable to now over $150 billion being set up in a completely new financial economy, and basic things like lending, borrowing, credit, insurance, and then on top of that, things like gaming, collection, NFTs, and so on and so forth being built in such a harmonious way that everyone in the entire stack is able to capture value. I think that is what is phenomenal, and that is what attracts a lot of people to this very easily, right? Like a lot of people actually do want to do open source. A lot of the reasons why they don't or can't do it or are unable to do it is because they don't know how to capture value. And crypto solves for that value capture problem in such a beautiful way that it helps us function together actually truly as a society and as humans in a much better way, right? And that is what is phenomenal, and that is why the rate at which it is growing and will continue to grow will accelerate most things that we've seen in the past.
100% agree. 100% agree. That incentive alignment is the problem that has been solved. Sometimes I actually think that price fluctuation gets some demand and more people come in.
Attention.
But when the price goes down, developers are still working heads down, and that is the true test of whether the ecosystem is growing or not. So I've started thinking that it's not the prices, but it's the developer activity that is the true proof point of what is happening in any protocol. And maybe that should be the benchmark. It should not be the price at all. It should be the developer activity. And wherever the developer activity is the highest, that is what will grow and become a large, long-lasting institution.
Pratik, I have a question here for you and Edu here. How do you measure developer activity in crypto? Because in open source, you can see new GitHub projects, right, being created, and then you can track those projects and the folks on them. But in crypto, how do you measure that?
From my perspective, the way we look at it, and in fact, I remember doing this exact exercise 3 years ago when I was trying to pick and choose tokens for my portfolio, was that actually developer activity is fairly straightforward and related to measure. On the one hand, you can see how many people are participating and contributing. And today, almost every single decently large project has some kind of a forum, some kind of community, some kind of a place where chatter is happening, right? And it is very easy to distinguish chatter that is genuine and aligned with the goal and vision and progress of the protocol with just chatter that's aligned around prices and how do we make money and move out of the ecosystem, right? So that is very easy to distinguish. On top of that, what is also there is that there are a lot of projects that actually, because in crypto things are built on stack on top of stack on top of stack, it is also fairly easy to measure how many such people are building on top of you, or how many people are looking at what you are trying to build and using that. So that's also relatively easy to measure, because it's a community. So people who are building on top of things that you've built actually come out and tell you directly and tell the people inside that community that, okay, we are building something like this and helping it grow, right? So that's, I think, the second kind of sort of way in which we can try and assess and see how much activity is there, whether there is activity in the right direction or not, and how things are going. And what do you think?
Yeah, and I had written simple small listeners and scrapers, which we just scrape forums. And broadly, if people see, crypto community is at the end of the day vocal, right? So if people are using it, people are talking about it. and it just comes out naturally. And there are standard tools out there which also helps you see where is the activity happening, who is growing fast, why is some protocol TVL is increasing, etc. So I just like to track them and get an intuitive feel for what is happening in those ecosystems.
Absolutely. And to add to that point, I think again, this is something that's very unique about crypto, because there is a very strong sense of ownership that people have in whatever they are doing, right? Because again, they are able to capture value, financial incentives are very well aligned. There is such a strong sense of ownership that people have, that they are actually inherently very vocal about it, right? So it's relatively straightforward to measure and assess what's growing and what's not.
Pratik and Edul. So Polygon came out of like it was a startup that came out of like stealth, right? A $10 billion company sitting in a backyard, right? So did you are you observing similar companies building in silos right now, and any interesting projects which you can comment on, which are getting in infancy right now, which can book in the next Polygon a couple of years down the line?
So see, I think it's less about the price. It's less about the market cap. I think it's more fundamentally about who are solving the toughest problems out there and are getting developer love. So Polygon, like we discussed, solved a very, very tough and large problem, and they got rewarded by the developer love. And I would love to learn from the founders someday on how they thought about it and how they evolved. But this is definitely very exciting and worth learning for all of us in the ecosystem. I think like my favorite project outside of Polygon in India is Bioeconomy. I think the founder is solving a very tough problem, very real problem. The challenge with flow of money, with the challenge with a transaction flow in crypto is that if I do not have enough gas, and you took the first two steps, gas was spent, and the third step, I did not have gas, then and the transaction is reversed. The first two places where I spent the gas just goes away, and it's painful. Uh, it takes time for the transaction to complete, so you don't know whether the transaction has been completed or not, and that leads to inefficiency in the system. So my vantage point, I love Bioeconomy project where the founder has built a fantastic community, the founder has developer love, and he's solving a very tough large problem. Of course it is very large, and perhaps late for us from a partnership perspective, but I think I'm excited about such projects where fundamental problems are being solved, and prices will go up and down. I think that is part of the journey. But if you are building a long-term sustainable solution to a real problem, it will be an honor and a pleasure to partner and learn. I'll let Edul talk about his favorite project as well, but I think that is my favorite project after Polygon from India.
Got it. Yeah, so I think of course Polygon guys do deserve all the credit with everything that is being built on top, right? And they really tried to solve such a core problem, and a lot of very interesting things are now happening and moving on top of Polygon, right? I've been actually looking at multiple different products and how they've been evolving, and a lot of the use case that I see today is in kind of sort of the NFT space and the growth over there. And actually, there are not one large projects, but there are multiple small projects that are helping people create NFTs and for example, Listo and Define are two such products that are helping people create NFT marketplaces and grow them up. And I think that's a very interesting area of where crypto is evolving into as well, because NFTs again give you that strong sense of ownership and kind of sort of entitlement to a product that you own digitally, and that effectively is how things will start moving into crypto one by one, right? So some very interesting projects happening over there that help you create, list, build marketplaces and products on top. And yeah, of course, from like a wealth management, finance sharing perspective, I also of course love Mesh, which is the product that we are building, which helps people. The idea over there is of course to help people manage their finances in a slightly better way and decentralize wealth management in the longer run. So yeah, so that's where we are.
And Pratik and Edul, any parting words for our listeners, and especially entrepreneurs who are working in this space and who are early?
Maybe I'll start. I think this is a very, very exciting time. We are, well, I think about it every day that 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 it's we are lucky that we are young and alive at such a time where so much innovation is happening and we can participate in this revolution that is happening. uh, I think the two mistakes people can do, and I would advise to stay away from that, is think about long-term success and not short-term blips in raising money and exiting. We are the ecosystem will be there for a long time. The problems we are trying to solve will be there for a long time. It's good to have long-term alignment and long-term vision. So that is first. And second, uh, unlike unlike many many spaces which are really zero sum and people are competing with each other very aggressively, in Web3 the ethos I see, which makes me very happy, is that people are not competing as much. It's really collaborating. When Edul talks about companies that seem competing, to me he's thinking about it in a very collaborative manner, that we will do this for them, they will do this for me, and we'll work together. I think that ethos in the ecosystem is beautiful, and we have to maintain that, where it is not a zero sum game. It is building for the community, because it is not yours building something and which is being sold to people. It is really you are forming a community and everyone is adding value to each other, and that's how everyone is capturing value. So that ethos should be alive and maintained. I'll let Edul add and
Well, I think from my perspective, the single most important thing that folks who are just starting out into crypto and are looking to build out crypto products and companies should understand is that building companies and products in crypto is absolutely not the same as building things in Web 1.0 and Web 2.0. Crypto is all about creating communities, being collaborative, and solving small problems, and then seeing how they scale up. Effectively, because things are built stack on top of stack on top of stack, what people should try and focus on is picking one small efficiency, figuring out what's the best way to solve it, build out a community that serves for that problem, and then see how to scale up from there and how to scale up from there. As Pratik said, it's not a zero-sum game. So the thought process shouldn't be that we will build all. The thought process should be, this is the most difficult or the challenging problem to solve. Let's build that, solve that, move on to the next problem, build that, solve that, and build communities around those problems and work with people to solve for it. And that's, I think, where Web 3.0 thinking is most different from where it was before. The value capture is not supposed to be with you. The value capture is supposed to be with the community. As a result of that, let's try and focus on building communities focused on small problems and solving that and scaling up from there.
Thank you so much, Pratik and Edul. It's been a masterclass on the entire crypto domain, understanding the nuances of and what wonderful solution Mudrex has built. So for our listeners, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Pratik, Edul, and me, and please free to post in comments. We'd love to help you out uh, in any way possible.
Absolutely.
Thank you for taking the time, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Siddharth. Thank you,
Thank you.
Thank you, your story, guys.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, this is Siddharth Alwalia from Amazon Web Services. I welcome you all to AWS Nexus Catalyst series, and this is the first episode, the part 2 of the first episode, where we discuss about a space which is very exciting for entrepreneurs, where we are seeing new solutions emerge and seeing the highest level of innovation. So I have with me esteemed panel members, and I would like Pratik Poddar, principal at Nexus Venture Partners, one of the best VC firms in the country, to spend 2 minutes on what we are going to discuss, and then we can go around the room, discuss, introduction, and then begin the discussion.
Perfect. Thank you, Siddharth. Thank you, your story team, for helping us organize this. it's an honor for me to be in this group. You guys have been builders since the beginning of the crypto revolution in the country, and it's an honor for me to be here. I'll just introduce myself a bit. Been a part of the firm since last 7 years. Primarily been looking at content, financial services, commerce, healthcare, and recently started diving deeper into the crypto space. Prior to this, I was an entrepreneur, built a social commerce company and a content marketing company. Prior to that, worked at Morgan Stanley Quant Group and Blackstone Private Equity. And prior to that, graduated from IIT Bombay, computer science. Now, our interest in crypto started maybe 1.5 years back as a firm, when we started meeting a few entrepreneurs, and I met some of you as well then. And we ended up partnering with an old friend, and founder of Mudrex, in January this year. And by investing in one company and working with the founder, we have gotten deeper in the space and gotten a chance to learn about what is happening in the market, and now able to visualize the beauty of the ecosystem that you guys have created, and what is being built by folks. I'll maybe one framework, one structure we can follow is would love to learn about you guys, about what you guys are building, what is exciting you about crypto, and then maybe I'll take the lead at the end and share my thoughts around how the ecosystem is evolving from my vantage point. So maybe Hassan, maybe you could start, because you're the first in my view here.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Hashan, and I'm the founder of Vibraniums. So Vibraniums is basically an NFT marketplace based in India for the world. And yeah, it's glad to be here and talking with many great people and all our panelists. So it's since like 2 years that we've been in this space, and what we observed being in this space. So let's, as a whole, DeFi and NFTs as evolving at this point, and it is, coming to mainstream more and more, and people started to realize about it. So, but the thing, the way it has evolved has its beauty in its own. So if you go back to, 8 years back, so, what we started to noticing is that we jumped from pre-computation era to post-computation era, where we started to noticing, mainframes, and then personal computers, and then we started to see graphical user interfaces, and then we started to see Web 2.0, Web 1.1, then 2.0, then a mobile internet, and then blockchain, and then Web 3.0. So the space right now, the Web 3.0 that we all part of, is sort of like has this three core motivation, which is to build a trustless infrastructure, and to give the user that that power to own their own data and identities, right? And to remove those intermediaries. In our traditional finance, what we notice is that the system is very inefficient, and it is more prone to you can say frauds, and mismanagement, and all that we faced back in 2008 financial crisis. So which led to which led to the birth of this the entire ecosystem and blockchain as a whole. So fast forwarding the time, that right now what we're seeing is that NFTs and DeFi is evolving, and not only that, but if you see the transition from Web 2.0 to 3.0, it's something like there are many companies in different segments that has built over this year. For example, in Web 2.0, there is Dropbox, Amazon, OneDrive for the file storage. But now we are seeing in Web 3.0, which is Filecoin, IPFS, SIA, right? In computation, in Web 2.0, we have Microsoft, AWS, IBM. But in 3.0, what we have is Elastic, Golem, IXLs, etc., etc. So in I mean, there are lots of companies, built on top of this what we call Internet of Blockchain, right? So this is how the ecosystem has built over the year. And right now, what we are seeing is that there are many services that they are leveraging the power of NFTs. And so we are seeing some of experiments that are happening right now, which is, combination of this DeFi and NFTs, where I'll give you one example, where what you can do is you can use a stable coin, which is pegged to the digital gold, and you can stack that to mint an NFT. So this sort of experiment is happening in this space. So at a fundamental level, what NFT solves a problem is that it gives a digital ownership to any object, right? As the market has crossed, the total volume globally has crossed over 10 billion, and much more concentrated on this collectible space. So right now, what we are seeing, it is, sort of experiments that's happening with the tying it up with the physical products as well. So yeah, that's my thoughts on what's actually happening. And as NFTs add the that object ownership layer, on top of which there is something called metaverse that is going to build for the next few years, right? So we are seeing some news coming out there. Big ventures, they are raising funds, to build a open metaverse. So yeah, the future is going to be exciting. What DeFi solves the problem of, it removes the intermediaries and allow people to use these powerful tools and protocols that that we notice in traditional finance, and it lacked inefficiency, right? That's a problem that DeFi solves. So what's really we are building is that in DeFi is sort of a physical, digital goods, where what you can see is that email, right? So email is a communication protocol, right? Similarly, the protocols that are coming out, where you can borrow and lend and do all sort of financial services without any intermediaries. So that's a very powerful thing, and it is managed by people only, right? And governed by people only. So making it more trustless, removing intermediaries, and to give that power in people's hands, right? So that's what we are actually as a whole, that's the goal of this Web 3.0 movement. So yeah, and when it comes to NFTs, is that as we are building a marketplace where users can buy and sell. So yeah, we feel proud that okay, we are part of this movement, and the future is going to be exciting. So yeah, that's all from me.
Thank you, and appreciate it. And I completely agree with a lot of points you said, and I'll share my thoughts as well. Then maybe Roshan, maybe you could start, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Pratik and Siddharth, for having me on this. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of GoSats, which is, so we've basically built the simplest Bitcoin on ramp in India, where people can get free Bitcoin when they shop. So it's pretty simple. Not a lot of technological complexity in this, but I believe that we've kind of like created a gateway to onboard the masses of crypto into India. So I've been following the space for like 7-8 years right now, and I felt like we have to move towards this really easy accumulation and the SATS standard, the way I call it, for Bitcoin. Because with Bitcoin exponential price, things will be starting to get denominated in Satoshis, which it's happening all over the world. So I definitely want to, for us in India as well, to start getting used to this standard. And yeah, a great bunch of folks over here. Like, love to see all of you, and together happy to kind of like build this Web3 future that we are all so excited about.
Thank you, Roshan. Arush, maybe you could get next. Go next, please.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Arush. I'm the co-founder of GreenSat. So we're basically an agri-fintech company that is using satellite data and artificial intelligence to provide the best insights to farmers in India today. So basically, talking about everything that everyone built on, that is blockchain, NFTs, Web 3.0. So when I first read about these technologies, like my mind was blown. Like there are so many applications of say Web 3.0 in the past few decades. From Web 2.0, so many problems have cropped up. Like everyone knows the data security issues around social media companies and the online fraud. So Web 3.0 is using blockchain and AI and all these modern technologies in order to mitigate these issues. And I think if in the coming few decades, when we implement all this, it will really be an amazing sight of how the industry has evolved over the past few years. And talking about blockchain, so and cryptocurrencies more specifically, there is so much potential over there from a financial perspective. Like in the past few years, blockchain, Bitcoin, and other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum have grown so much, and Polygon or Matic as well. And Polygon specifically is solving a very big problem in blockchain, that is scalability. So while blockchain is an amazing system, there are issues regarding the performance of blockchain because it uses these very advanced and very intensive cryptographic functions. So scalability is a big issue. And I think that is one of the reasons why Polygon or Matic has grown so much in the past few years.
Thank you, Arush. Makes complete sense. Satvik, maybe you could continue from there.
I think just before, so I would like to acknowledge that Satvik has been one of the founding fathers of the crypto exchanges in India. He was the first one to start, right? And he helped support the ecosystem a lot, right? So thank you, Satvik, and over to you.
And by the way, Satvik, my first money in crypto was on Unicoin only. So, of course, you were the OG there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when it comes to the early adopters, whoever wanted to start, say, between 2013 to 2016, in all likelihood, we would have been their go-to partners, right? So to introduce myself, I am Satvik Vishwanath, the CEO and co-founder at Unocoin. Unocoin is the India's first cryptocurrency trading platform and exchange. So we started in 2013. So the reason why I kind of got lured into doing something like this is because I have seen the way the internet has developed from 1998 itself, right? So still almost 2000, the year 2000, the way internet was more unidirectional, where the publishers used to publish data and the readers used to read it. It was only like text and image based, and it was kind of coming to an end there, right? So, and there was that we call it as Web 1.0, and then there was Web 2.0, which I believe we have to say between the years 2000 to 2018, maybe, which has been like prevalent. So where people are allowed to interact with the web applications. They could register their accounts, be a part of social media, are able to see the centralized data, like say it could be movies, or then we had the meetings like this, etc. But however, there was a very crucial need for a third party to be providing this kind of data. There were these third parties were there all across the world, but everyone was providing their own specific services. It was not like everyone is trying to provide the same service. But when it comes to Web 3.0, I believe that out of all the data that we have acquired, say between 1998 to 2018, and there was so much of new ideas that people could come up with by just manifesting that data, utilizing it, seeing the patterns, understanding the human behavior. So which was not significantly done till almost till 2018. And now the artificial intelligence, it could be machine learning, etc., have kind of trying to show the trends how people are slowly losing the trust in completely centralized systems. They eventually are seeing it could be Google, it could be even internet in some part of US, or it could be Facebook, or I mean, people are recognizing, okay, there are privacy issues on one side, there is dependency on AWS on one side. So wherever the things are going wrong, people are realizing how much they dependent on something which was so centralized, and the moment it went wrong, they know that they probably are kind of always vulnerable. So that is the kind of time where people are looking at these kind of completely decentralized applications, where not one person or one company is responsible for doing something, but everyone collectively is doing it. Right. So then people have continued manifesting different technologies again, like artificial intelligence and machine learning and robotics and like many other different things we're talking about since 10 years. And all of them are kind of coming together. So now at one point of time, it was incoming messages. I mean, where we could just receive the messages or read it and like end of it on the web pages, which has just HTML text and images. And then there was Web 2.0 where it was interactive, and it was still kind of restricted to messages when it comes to worldwide. And when it comes to India specific or country specific or company specific, there were some transactions that people could do. But it was still not open to rest of the world like the way messages opened up. I think in this web, in this Web 3.0, people are looking not only images, but not only images and messages, but also even the transactions, value transfers. Everything that was data but centralized in Web 2.0 is getting decentralized now. People have the mobile phones, mobile applications, internet, and they're recognizing how powerful it is to do the transactions, which is kind of very elemental for the human race when they are on the internet. So I'm very excited to be in this space at this point of time and looking at whatever is happening and continue to work towards making it flourish. Thank you.
Thank you, Satvik. Maybe Wilson, you could continue from there, please.
Sure. Thanks, Pratik, and everyone else in the panel. Really glad to be here. I'm Wilson, co-founder of BlockSurvey. BlockSurvey is a decentralized data collection platform. It's like Google Forms type form, but which is decentralized, but focuses on privacy and security. So today we help people collect sensitive data in the areas of mental health, sexual health, activism, protest, and wherever there is sensitive data collection is involved, that's where we help people with. And we have been doing it for about last 24 months and really glad to be part of this journey. And what I feel is every individual over here is trying to build that infrastructure for Web3 in their own capacity, in their own vertical. And what got me into this space is it's about this, it's about how we conduct in the digital world is what made me to think about. I think today how we, there is really a very fine line between how we differentiate the physical world and the digital world. I think we are kind of tuning in every day to the digital world, but unfortunately we don't own anything in the digital world. I think that's the sad thing. So right from your every layer in the internet world, right from your device to your network layers to even at the application layer, we don't have any ownership, right? And that's where I wanted to help people by ethically building user-owned internet with a focus on digital rights, and that's the space I am. And I wanted to see more people build in this space, help people, and bring true ownership on the digital world. And we all understand right now, I think NFTs is just the beginning. I think it's just holding assets, but I think everything we produce on the web today it's actually owned by you, and it has to be owned by you, and it is an NFT, and you should claim your ownership. I think that's the possibility I would like to see in the future of web, where that's where the true Web3 would get manifested, and it will get fulfilled, where everything right from your identity to every post you make, every chat you make, every tweet you do, it's all owned by you. I think that ownership and rights and full transparency on how your data is being utilized, opportunity to monetize your data, even moving forward and having even permissions to take back your data without any censorship, or giving you that freedom to communicate. and how we live in the digital world is I envision to see with Web3 coming into place. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for that Krantikari introduction, Wilson. I'll let Mohit continue from there, please.
So I couldn't agree more with Wilson. So I see this era of blockchain or Web3, as we call it, as an obvious evolution. I see it, I try to compare it with the evolution that humanity has gone through. There was the first version where we were trying to get access, making tools, making fire, wheel, right? And then there was the second one when electricity got invented. And, we took those tools for granted and we started building things on electricity, and that led to an entire industrial revolution itself. And the third one now being the internet itself, where everything is connected. So when we started, it was all about accessibility. And then we evolved to, socializing, people coming together from various communities, groups to build cities together, to build infrastructure together. And once we were able to achieve that, we started distributing ourselves as humans across the globe, conquering more and more territory, making life easier and easier. I think similarly, the web space has evolved. As Safik rightly pointed out, Web 1.0 was merely just information being there, right? And at that point of time, it was difficult to imagine that, one day you'll have something on your hand and you press a button and there's going to be a cab or there's going to be food delivered to you, right? And then we evolved to Web 2.0, where we all came together, socializing happened again with social networks, and, there's so much content creation, monetization, and all of that. And now it's the obvious step of, distributing it, moving into an era, as Whitson rightly pointed out, of maybe ownership, maybe of having that kind of freedom where anybody can build anything, doesn't need anybody's approval, and can actually offer it to a lot of people. Like, for example, the platform that we started just in February has over 130 million stakes since then, right? We don't even know the names of these people. We don't know anything about them. We're not tracking anything about them. Literally, all we know is their wallet address, and that's it. And that's the kind of beauty that this Web3 has got us in. And this is at a very, very nascent stage. So, all of us working together to build the infrastructure. And I just don't mean the infrastructure in terms of blockchains, but also the ecosystem itself, enabling other developers to get here, enabling other communities to adapt to it, enabling maybe gamers, maybe artists. I don't know. All of this needs to culminate and come together, which I see happening in this decade itself. So I do believe that this transformation is not just obvious step for us, but also an empowering one. In the world that is moving and getting divided in thought processes, and anxieties and social medias all blurring up at the same time, it's very important to preserve one's entity. And this is where this plays a critical role. So not only I'm all for it, I'm also for enabling it. And there are a lot of friends here, and all of them have played a critical role in making that happen. Like, for example, with Roshan and GoSats, they're making Bitcoin accessible to literally everyone. Everybody shops and they're going to get their cash back. We have Safik here who basically started this revolution, right? And we're simply following his footsteps. And we have various agri-tech platforms, and now adoption is going to a grassroots level. We're very new. We don't know 2 decades from now what devices would we have, and pressing on that, what would happen. But I'm glad to be a part of this journey and really excited to keep building.
Awesome. Thank you, Mohit. Appreciate it. And Vikram, would love to get your thoughts as well.
Hey, thanks, Prateek. So I'm Vikram. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Geotas Cryptocurrency Exchange. We are one of the fastest growing and highly rated exchange in India right now. So we started our operations in 2017. It's been an amazing four plus years for Geotas in the market now, with a lot of action-packed happenings, be it in regulations or the prices, right? Now, before I start off with Web 3.0, I mean, I'm feeling really happy being part of the session because I'm an ex-Amazonian, right? Before starting Geotas, I was a category manager with Amazon. I was handling the European market and then the Indian market. I just feel like life has formed one full circle, being part of the session, right? So So that's about me. So before my work life, I was with IIM Calcutta. I did my MBA there, and I'm an ex-Bitsian as well. Now, coming to the topic right now, yeah, it's really tough to discuss about the same Web 3.0, but I thought, let me put in my views in here. See, as I see, what is happening right now is, now 30 years back, we were moving from a pre-computation era to a post-computation era now, right? So ideally, if we find someone who lived 40 years back and they see what we are doing now, you will find an extremely disconnect, right? So this disconnect, what is happening is just increasing as the time is going to pass by. Every 10 years, every 5 years, you will find this huge improvement that happen and the generation will feel that gap. Now, ideally, if we start noticing why this is happening is when I would want to quote what Mark Anderson said, right? Software is eating the world, right? That's ideally what has been happening. And when people talk about Web 2.0, all the systems that came in, be it your Google, Facebook, or all the apps that were built on top of the Web 1.0, if you see what they were doing, all the traditional systems and processes, they were trying to build a software so that they tried to move these businesses to an online web-oriented business. Now what is happening? Now the software is eating the world. Now we are much more worried about how it is eating the world, right? Is it eating it the right way? Now the software which is being built, we want to know how it is functioning, who is governing it, how fast it is, how things are happening. That is the phase that we are moving towards now. Now, one of the major advantages or the major features is Web 3.0, what I want to quote is the function of verifiability, right? Now, why is this so important, right? Now, in Web 2.0, now when a company, let's take the most famous example, right? When a company comes and says that I'm providing you XYZ services, but I'm not using your customer data, right? I'm just storing it, I'm not viewing it, right? But how are we going to verify it? That did not happen, right? We just took the company by its word. Now, this is a big change what has happened in Web 3.0. Now, anyone who builds an application here, when he gets into a social contract with the customer here, you can verify it here, right? You can verify if the customer is if the application is stating that the data is not viewed or anything, can go verify it. If the application is stating that XYZ is the throughput or the speed that they're providing, you can go verify it here. This power of verifiability is what is changing Web 3.0. Now, if you notice, guys, even in Web 2.0, there were few systems, P2P systems that were built, right? But these P2P systems that were built, they were not able to flourish or be successful just because of the economic incentive that was not built around it. One of the best examples that we see even now is the Wikipedia, right? Wikipedia is good, it's successful, but every now and then, I think you guys would have also seen the messages that comes out based for donations, right? So these P2P models, they require an economic model, right? For it to flourish, for it to grow. This is what cryptocurrency has brought in, Web 3.0 has gotten. The economy that can be built in. See, what your blockchain is just the protocol, right? It's a protocol just like your how your HTTP protocol works, right? So this protocol has to marry with the web. Now the crypto or the applications that were formed, they married with this blockchain protocol to form an economic incentive so that these P2P systems flourish. So this ideally is the biggest change that has happened. Now, what is happening right now, when I quoted software is eating the world, if you see one by one, software was eating, for example, software is eating the law. When you take Ethereum, for example, what Ethereum is doing, it's running smart contracts on top of it. Basically, that's what law industries do, right? So that's where Ethereum is coming and pitched in and has taken over that ownership. Now, see, even industries as traditional as art auctions, right? No one would have believed that, now what had happened, let's take Sotheby as an example, right? It was a traditional auction to begin with where people had to be physically present. Now, Web 2.0, what happened? People can start bidding for the auction online. That's what Web 2.0 did. Now, what we are talking about is where there's a complete digital asset what can be sold, right? So this is the movement, right? And industry as traditional as an art auction is being completely disrupted by this Web 3.0. So moving forward, be it a DeFi or any of the NFT technology or be it the metaverse, concepts that are being built, you will find these disruptions that are happening. And the best part of this is there is always an opportunity for the consumers to verify what they're getting.
This is awesome. Thank you for sharing, Vikram. And maybe I'll also add a few thoughts, building on what you guys started. First of all, this is inspiring for me that all of you are broadly doing very different things, and are on the same table. And there's so much diversity in the innovation that is happening across the board in the country. And because everyone said something about it, I want to add what is my favorite thing around Web 3.0. So my favorite aspect around Web 3.0 are around decentralization and ownership. Decentralization, because like someone mentioned, one party should not be responsible for taking all the decisions. And ownership, because if I have added value to your system by adding comments or adding likes, or creating a catalog or curating content or whatever it is, I should get some value out of it, and I should own. I should claim the ownership to the success I have created in the formation of the community. And you cannot screw with me later by saying I have changed the algorithm. And those, that is liberating for me. So from my vantage point, that is the most important, that is the most exciting aspect of Web 3.0. I'll also comment on one small thing which we were talking about in the last session as well, is that it's so beautiful that the ecosystem in Web 3.0 is more collaborative and building on top of each other and not competing as much. That is the nature of the ecosystem we are in, where it is not that you are building something and selling to someone. What you are really doing is helping the community grow. And community growth is not a zero-sum game. It is true value creation happening by collaborating, sharing, and helping each other grow. And that to me is exciting, because we are very early stages in the evolution of the ecosystem. And like Mohit, you mentioned, I don't think even 10 years back, leave around 20 years, even 15 years back, maybe leave around 25 years, we would have imagined that we would get a cab or we would get food by clicking on a button. It's just impossibly crazy to think like that. So almost surely from where we are today, 15 years from now, we'll be laughing that we could not imagine what all things could be done. And we are in very early stages. So I was one of my colleagues, we were brainstorming around what is the future of metaverse, and we were chatting about the general things that you think we will all chat, right, based on all the articles and all the videos we have seen, etc. And one thought he had, which was unique, crazy, and exciting, was that hey, maybe metaverse would be useful for alcoholics, because if you drink in the real world, you're hurting your body. But if you drink in metaverse, you would think that you are drinking and your mind will absorb it better. But it will actually be one of the ways in which there will be a placebo effect, and you will feel that it's improving. But we really don't know the applications that will be built on top of the future that all of you are creating. The other, and I'll just share. So all of you are doing very exciting things and very different things. I think one aspect which I'm also excited about, which we did not discuss about here, and I'll just share some points there. So as Nexus, by the way, we are about 17-year-old fund. We manage about $2 billion of assets. One of the spaces we have done well in the Web 2.0 world is that we have been good investors in open source companies. And we see a lot of parallels between open source communities and the crypto communities that are being created. We are early investors in Postman, in Hasura, in Minio, in H2O.ai, and a lot of these are phenomenally large and well-regarded open source communities. And we see a lot of parallels in the crypto world, because consumers of these open source companies are really developers. And in the Web 3.0 world as well, because value is being captured at the protocol level as well. There are a lot of products and companies where the value creation is happening when developers are using it, and there are parallels around that. So one of the themes beyond what you guys talked about that we are very excited about are infrastructure plays for developers in the Web 3.0 world, and what all things could be done. And we have seen some very exciting companies already being built out of India, and I think that is also an opportunity that exists. And just teeing up to what Hassan, you said that it's very early stages in the NFT ecosystem. NFTs is I would not worry about the prices going up and down as much, or what is happening around a few clubs that are being created. But fundamentally, NFT, like Wilson said, is really about ownership, and that ownership leads to different ways communities are being created and companies are being created. And I'm very excited about the applications that can be built on top of the NFT ecosystem. Roshan, as you said, I think very excited about platforms that get people onboarded in the crypto journey. And Mudrex, of course, is in that same process. But like Roshan said, people need to be handheld and gotten onboarded on their journey. And DeFi is very difficult for the mass market as well. And companies that are helping that are making DeFi more useful, that are making DeFi more easily understood, would be phenomenal companies being created very soon. Arush, as you mentioned, the applications of blockchain, where data is being collected, secured, and aggregated, and insights being created out of it would be very exciting. Satvik, you are the OG of the ecosystem. You have seen it all from day one, and completely agree with all the points you made around how the ecosystem is evolving. Wilson, loved the fact that you talked about data security and how blockchain enables that. I'll be honest, I don't think I have talked to many entrepreneurs who are seeing that application of blockchain as much, despite the fact that 5-6 years back most people were only talking about it. But I've seen lesser innovation in that space, but it is very exciting to see that you are building a simple layer, very obvious problem that everyone faces, and creating a layer of security by using the new technologies that are being created. And Vikram, thank you for sharing your thoughts around how Web3 ecosystem is evolving, and those encouraging words, Mohit, as well. So just teeing up to it, and I'll not take a lot more of your time, but very exciting discussion. Thank you for sharing all your thoughts. I'll let Siddharth lead the conversation from here and take it forward, please.
Yeah. So we have 10 more minutes in this panel. So I would like to have from you one or two key trends, right, which you see building up next year, especially in the companies which are in the infrastructure layer, helping build more applications. Right. For example, what could be the no-code moment for crypto, blockchain, NFTs, right, which will help developers build out application in days, right? So I would like to start with from Satvik.
Okay, I mean, see, this crypto industry is evolving so fast that it's tough to even predict what will be in about 6 months to 1 year, or 5 years. So I wonder, when someone asks you, where do you see yourself in 5 years, I kind of end up laughing. But however, see, at the end, I think wherever the business models were successful in the Web 2.0, those are the ones which will actually have obvious chance of success when it comes to Web 3.0, as long as it can be decentralized. So one thing I could see, say within another 1 or 2 years happening, is the taxi sharing applications that we have. So which can actually be well decentralized. And then food delivery startups as well. So there can definitely be some decentralization that is possible. We don't need a central authority or central company for sure, right? And on the other side, we already have solved half of the problem, which is the money. Right? So for every transaction to happen, half of the transaction is money exchange, and then the remaining half is the products and services. So it's kind of, brings it excited stage that anyway, the money transaction is happening in a decentralized way as we go forward. Hopefully that is how the eventual regulations for India will be built up. And the second half, wherever there is a middleman who is just taking a cut by providing a service, it's gonna change. Is what it looks like to me.
Satvik, anything which you are seeing is seeing a massive adoption right now, which
See, it's like we have seen Web 2.0 maybe since 1998, 2000 onwards, right? But for it to take a shape where massive adoption have come in, it hasn't really happened till 2010 at least. So there is always 8 to 10 years of overlap from one technology to the next. So today, if we see something in Web 1.0, which is like plain text and images, we don't like it, right? So because we have seen Web 2.0 itself have played the role of about 20 years already. So, but Web 3.0, there is definitely an overlap, maybe for 5-6 years. I think that is where we have started realizing. So massive adoption of something we definitely won't see it so soon. Maybe the cryptocurrencies because of very obvious reasons, and there is some speculative aspect for it. Not everyone is there in it for embracing the technology, saying that, oh my God, this is like such a cool way to do the transactions online. I mean, that is like less than a small percentage, maybe 10%, who actually sees its value for technology, whatever it is. But the rest of the people are betting on the technology, saying that, okay, this probably will be like the future. It should continue to grow bigger because it's Web 3.0, it's decentralized in nature anyway. So it will not die no matter what. And hoping that it will only like continue to grow it, what it looks like to me. Today, there are prototypes of how social platforms can be built on Web 3.0, and there are payment gateways already are in place. We had BitPay since forever, and we from Unopan as well have a payment gateway through which the merchants can accept Bitcoin and Ether as a mode of payment. So only once this comes up, probably say in another 4 years, we may have some kind of a data where, okay, for this at least some kind of adoption are happening. Now it is still in the distribution phase. We want everyone to feel that there is something called crypto, put their hands on top of it, either for money or for free, like how Roshan is doing in GoSats, right? So only once people have that feel, how it feels like, I mean, it cannot be explained. And I don't really see anything being mass adopted yet. It will take its time.
What about you, Vikram?
Looking into crypto as an investment asset, right? That is what is driving adoption now, right? The mass adoption that is happening is not because of the use cases that have come out, right? Let's be frank enough to accept all that. Now, for the next few years at least, this is ideally what will drive adoption among masses. Now, with a lot of these platforms, right, which are competing with each other, be it Ethereum, Solana, Polkadot, with a lot of these platforms competing with each other to bring in a good scalable solution with a high throughput, now see, let's take Solana, for example, right, which is talking about 50,000 transactions per minute, right, compared to a TPS, transaction per second, compared to an Ethereum, which has got a lower throughput. Now, if these platforms prove to be successful and if they stand the test of time, now that's what matters in crypto, right? You have to stand the test of time. It's not just a year or two. Now, take Ethereum, why Ethereum is still going strong, even with a lot of this congestion is they have been in the market for almost more than 7 years now. Bitcoin, even lesser throughput, but they've been in the market for 12 years now. So these platforms, when they give a better throughput and they stand the test of time, is when a lot of applications will be built that can be used by customers, right? That is ideally when you will find actual use cases coming and a large scale adoption for using the product will happen. till that time, there is going to be adoption only as a form of an investment asset, right? That's ideally what we are noticing now.
So you are right in this, right? Because it's always follows a curve of this kind, where for the first few years we see early adopters, right, 5%, and then we see the remaining, 80% of the people seeing early adopters benefit from it. Roshan, over to you, right? What's your thoughts on
Yeah,
this? Is beyond investing, right? So currently, in B2C, right, users see crypto currently as an investment asset. How far we are away, right, and what is required to make it more than investment?
Yeah, I think Satvik and Vikram kind of like summed it up really beautifully, right? We've seen such a speculation over the years. And so there are a couple of ways that I look at it, and I've been giving this a lot of thought. Like that's one of the reasons why even GoSats was born, because being in the space, like it should have exploded by now the ecosystem, but it's not. It's just tokens that is out there. But where are the real do you have any blockchain app on your phone that you use on a daily basis apart from investing, right? So one thing is that people need to start looking at beyond layer one's blockchains. I believe that layer one is done. You have all the best ones, and you need to start looking at layer two. That's why Polygon for Ethereum, Stacks for Bitcoin. All your future applications that people want to build, all these really fancy applications will be built on these layer two solutions. Layer one blockchains cannot scale. Like I've been part of debates for like years with all sorts of crypto communities about layer one blockchains, and it just cannot scale, right? So people talking about high transactions and throughputs and stuff like that, you compromise on something else to provide that. And in the long run, this entire crypto ecosystem was born out of decentralization. You cannot make compromises. If you have to succeed, you have to stick to the ethos of what this crypto ecosystem is all about. Now, the second way that I see is like there's so much of talent in our country, so much youth building stuff, but they look at decentralization as a reason to build stuff. Decentralization should be the method, but the reason should be to solve an actual problem. Like solving a business problem. Like, are people going to use your platform? That is something I see a lot of, and that's what even Satvik summed it up perfectly, where we don't think we're going to see a massive surge in any application in the next couple of years. It's going to be extremely difficult. There are so many different social media protocols. Like take EOS, for example. They bought voice.com for $30 billion, $30 million, the domain, and to create this decentralized social network just went bust. So I spoke to so many various founders, like they want to create they want to disrupt all these Web 2.0 giants. But if you want to disrupt them, you need to solve a problem you need to figure out a way how you can get those millions of users onto your platform. Decentralization cannot be the answer because most people don't care. Most people don't even know what decentralization is. And I think that the future of blockchain applications will be where blockchain is kind of like obscure. Like it's not there. Like people, like your website would probably not mention decentralization, blockchain. It is all these buzzwords, It would actually make use of the behind the scenes to make things very easy. And a perfect example of this is Strike. If you want me to name a company, I believe Strike is going to do really well because Strike doesn't have all this fancy stuff in the background. They use Lightning Network, and they solve the problem of remittances and high fees, making use of Lightning Network on behind the scenes. An average user doesn't care; they don't know what Lightning Network is, but they have those kind of things. And I think that is the way I see the future. And if I have to give any feedback or advice to any of these founders building, like see how you can provide an actual solution to a problem a consumer is facing, and then you figure out how a blockchain can kind of like be a part of it. But do not think of blockchain first, because I used to make this mistake. I did this in the beginning as well. Like in 2014 or 15, I started creating the decentralized social network and decentralized file storage and stuff like that, thinking that, oh, it's a blockchain thing, it's a buzzword, everybody will come to it. Doesn't work like that, right? You kind of like learn the hard way. So yeah, those are my 2 cents on that.
What about you, Mohit? Pratik, you want to say something?
I want to say very small thing. Sorry, I'll just add.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Pratik.
Sorry, I'll just add to what Roshan said. I think Roshan very well put that. So there are 2 aspects of the discussion. One is what are the applications that we are using today that are truly blockchain centric, and the answer is really none, and that will change in a few years. And the second aspect of the discussion, which I which I have been jumping around on, honestly, on my thoughts is whether a few blockchains will exist or there will be multiple competing blockchain. At least today, the answer I have is that for different use cases, different blockchains work. It's not about L1 versus L2. In L1 as well, some blockchains might work better for some use cases, and L2 some might. So for NFTs, for gaming, for financial services, for social network, and these are the use cases that we can imagine right now, and there are, I'm sure, other use cases that we are not able to even imagine today, almost surely. So at least today I am of the belief that there will be multiple blockchains, and if we can, if as a developer I could figure out and bet on growth of one blockchain and build on top of it, I think it's a problem worth solving, and an enterprise worth building. But very exciting discussion. Thank you, Roshan, for sharing your thoughts. And this is, in my mind, this is exciting for entrepreneurs listening to this conversation as well, because they will get inspiration to build stuff on these lines. And yeah, sorry, I just wanted to add more. Please continue.
No, thank you, Pratik, for adding that. Actually, I was about to start there. So I completely disagree with Satvik, with Roshan, and I don't see it the way that, it's only going to be money and investment that's leading it, because we have gone down this road. It happened back in 2000 when there was the dot-com boom. Like millions and billions were being poured on napkin ideas, right? Because that was the sudden surge of getting rich quick. Of course, capital is going to flow wherever it's getting the best return. But this time around, things are slightly different. We saw that with GameStop just a year back. This time around, there is enablement. This time around, there is communities coming together. And just 2 days back, we had a community formed almost overnight for buying Constitution with Constitution DAO. So this time around, the adoption it's just taking on a surge here. I believe that in next 1 year, just the enablement part of it, there'll be communities. I don't know in the direction in which they'll be heading, but there'll be communities, maybe for content creation, maybe for NFTs, maybe for social networks. I don't know. But right now we are seeing that point where, it's not just about capital anymore. It's now about, as Roshan put it, it's going to the background. On your website, you don't put this is built on internet, right? Because obviously it is already on the internet. I think we are now at that point because we see a lot of micro communities forming small tools or projects among themselves and then trying to scale it. And that's the grassroots adoption that's coming up. Sure, we are still slightly away from having a mobile app, and accessibility plays a key role. So I believe in the next year, a year and a half, projects such as SAFL and other projects who are working on improving the accessibility for an end user to be able to adopt it is going to strongly increase. Frankly, it doesn't matter what blockchain they're building on. If there is no accessibility, it doesn't matter if it's on Ethereum or if it's on Stacks or if it's anywhere else. As long as an end consumer, the 500 million people of India that are actively using mobile for more than 4 hours a day, until we get to them, of course, the application, the final layer, the apps part of it doesn't make any sense at all. So I believe in the next 1 year, in terms of infrastructure scalability, there's going to be zero knowledge for sure, to make sure that the costs and everything come down and more developers are brought in. In terms of enablement, there's going to be communities that give majority portion to content creators, enabling them to get that, aha experience while using Web3. And in terms of accessibility, there's going to be a lot of startups trying to get to that user base, because, once you have them, it's very difficult to let go of them, right? They're not going to leave your platform if you are their gateway to success. And having said that, we do need to realize, and I do need to accept the reality that even a small messaging service currently doesn't exist on Web3, right? Push and EPNS, they're trying to build one, but we're still far away from it. So I think this time around, it's not going to be a top-down one. It's going to be a bottoms-up one. So that's why it's so much excitement. There are 85 projects that have launched on our platform. And, every time I get on a call with a founder, the kind of energy, the kind of ideas, the kind of execution that they have, even with a small team, that's what we aspire for.
Wilson, we'll conclude at you.
Sure. Yeah. I see there's a huge opportunity where the adoption is around the corner, is what I believe. So I think people are already looking at alternatives to all the too big to fail tech companies, right? I think how we call the too big to fail financial institutions in the last decade. I think today we are at the verge of calling the tech companies as too big to fail as well. So what I sense is it's around the corner. People are looking at alternatives. Like I think people are looking at even using DTube as an alternative to YouTube. People are even moving to Mastodon for Twitter. And I think even Twitter understands that there is an opportunity where crypto is the way, decentralization is the way, and they recently formed a team last week. And decentralized is definitely the future. I see it would kick off from the socials. Could be Telegram getting decentralized. Already it's private, and I think massive adoption, and Telegram has its own chain as well. I see eventually platforms which are on the application layer will have their own chains as well, like app chains on top of layer 1, layer 2, and then this would be the layer 3 chains, which would be app chains. And I see that's the future, where when I see my moms and dad using a Telegram and telling them, hey, that's the experience you're going to get with Web3, and there is not going to be any change, and it's just like you're merging along with the wave of computing and moving forward. And I see the adoption is going to be around the corner, and it's going to be soon. I see this is going to be the future, and we wouldn't even be able to say the difference between Web 1, 2, or 3, and then we would have taken the journey and moved forward, and we would have been part of the journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Gulshan, and thank you so much, Hassan, Roshan, Arush, Satvik, Vikram, Mohit, and Prateek, Gulshan again, for being part of this. I would have loved to continue it, right? But we have limitations of time. Thank you so much again for being part of this panel.